back to the Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a clip today from whatever.com again. This is actually feminists claiming that body count is a construct of the patriarchy. And just so ridiculous that always men's preferences always get some kind of shame and insult to it. And women's preferences are perfectly fine. So please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. And let's get to the chow. It's chow time.
Why are you attracted to tall men?
Why are you attracted to tall men?
You can't control what you're attracted to.
What?
In the same way that men are attracted to women with a low body count. But okay, why do you like... You can't control.
It's not the same thing, but
well, I think
your
one of
point
them
stands.
stems from like a fundamental thing, and then the other one just
Body
is like
count?
biology.
Wait,
I think
which
both are
one?
biology.
Which one is which?
Doesn't think that we care about body counts out of biology. Think it's just a fundamental thing that the patriarchy instilled into us.
Well,
Yes.
I don't agree. I think one is a social construct and the other is a physical trait.
Height is a social construct.
one of the points.
No, that's a physical.
Height is a physical
it's
trait.
not a social
Body
construct.
count. It is.
It's not.
It is.
This is
It
something.
is.
This is something. Okay, I understand your point.
I'm on her side.
This is something that has been valued throughout all of human history in almost every culture that's ever existed. And the reason why Andrew Tate has made this point, and I think it's a very valid point.
Wait, 1 second.
Hold on.
As soon as you bring up
It's a
Andrew
very
Tate, they get
valid
upset.
point, okay? One of the reasons why virgins have been prized throughout human history.
Let's not get into this.
Hold on. One of the
No,
reasons.
let's go into it.
One of the reasons.
They are so sharp. Oh. What the fuck? Is like, this is news to you? Like, calm the fuck down. Like, oh my god.
Oh, no. Bad timing.
What he has to say.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
don't-
Please. I want to
Don't
hear.
what?
I want to hear what you have
Wait,
to say.
virgins? What?
Why are
Wait.
you guys so triggered by this?
What's?
Should we play the
Yeah, because they're
video?
not virgins.
Wait.
One of the reasons why is because if you have a woman who's a whore and she's sleeping with hundreds of dudes, relax. It's okay. Yes,
Wait, what?
yes,
Yeah,
you
we
can.
can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, we can.
Because there's a lot of women
Well-
out there who are whores.
And there's
Wait.
even more men out there that are even bigger whores.
You're right.
Well, there
You're
are.
not wrong.
But
there-
whores is a
You're
derogatory term,
That's
in
okay.
my opinion.
And that's
One
okay.
that should be
No,
used.
but there are. Hold on. There are literally whores, like women who.
Identify themselves as whores?
no,
that
women
that
who prostitute.
prostitute.
Yeah.
So how
So
would
there-
you define whore?
Okay.
Well, there's a hoe.
Chicks that are ran through. Chicks that have slept with 50, 100, 150.
So what would define?
Sorry,
what
Eric.
would the number be though? Because if a girl has slept with 20 guys, right? Would she be a whore?
It's going to be different for every guy.
Or-
It's going to be different for every guy.
If she did it within a month of losing her virginity, yes.
That's a lot.
That's
That's
not-
basically
Okay,
one
so
per day.
You just said it's a lot. You just said it's a
it's
lot, right?
That's a fact. I mean,
So you acknowledge.
In my personal standards, yes, but maybe in other people's standards, it might not be.
20 people in the
I mean,
first.
most dudes are going to look at a woman who slept with 20 guys in a month, and they're going to think that she's a whore. Probably
Okay.
99% of dudes.
Yeah, would not date a woman that's...
The original point, though, about why virginity was something that was important throughout human history, is because if you have a woman that's sleeping with a bunch of dudes, let's say you get her pregnant, right? You're not going to know who got her pregnant. She might say that you got her pregnant, and it might have been another guy that got her pregnant. And this is why chastity is something that's been so prized throughout human history.
Correct.
And before there were DNA tests, there was no way to tell who the father was of a child. Okay, and so this is why is it a social construct? Yes, but
It's evolutionary.
Is it a social construct that has extreme value? Absolutely.
I have to disagree with you on this one. I think that if you're going to bring up virginity and that whole thing in history, I think that it stems from the patriarch and men wanting to own women and possess her.
The patriarchy. Okay, hold on. Now you have to tell us what the. You have
what
to
is
now
that?
articulate.
A society built by men for men.
Articulate what the patriarchy is.
A society built by men for men. And
So-
that's
and do you
why
believe-
women, that's why it was fine for a man not to be a virgin. Sure, you can say pregnancy, whatever, but nobody cared about a man's chastity. Nobody cares about it now.
Well,
Nobody
actually, I
cares.
think
That's
that's
absolutely
wrong.
that's absolutely not true.
For Christianity.
For the past 2,000 years, people have absolutely cared about male chastity. It's
Yep.
it's been
Who?
less highly
Well, I have a question. then.
Western civilization for the past 2,000 years has been a Christian civilization, and in cultures that have been Christian, they absolutely value male chastity.
Correct.
Now, that's not the norm. That hasn't been the norm, but it's not fair to say nobody cares about it.
Chase, let me just have I want to have a little
Okay,
back
go
and
for it.
forth here on the patriarchy. Okay,
Let's
so
do this.
you said that the patriarchy is, just repeat it again. What is the patriarchy?
A society built by men for men.
And historically, you're asserting that was something that historically existed or persists till today?
I think that there are definitely still undertones of it in society today because it existed first.
So it's a society built by men for men. So how?
What do you mean how? Men have been
Articulate
in power
how.
for centuries. Men built this country. Like
Which
women
men?
have never had the founding
founding
all
fathers
the
of America.
presidents.
Why
There's never-
hasn't there been a society built by
Because
women for
people
women?
have thought that women are too emotional to take charge. Like people have always said that a woman can't be president because she's too emotional. That has been like that was what people thought. You can read things about it. You can look at historical documents.
But what does their gender have to do with it?
It's the attitudes that have been reflected onto women for years.
So do you disagree with the idea that on average women tend to be more emotional than men do?
Wait.
Yes, yes. I've dealt
Really?
with some men that act like toddlers.
Some men. Okay.
Some
A
boys.
majority, yes.
Some boys.
Okay, but you can say.
Can-
why are
can you give
saying
us-
That, are you saying that you think women are on average more emotional?
Absolutely.
In my experience,
Absolutely.
yeah, they're
Absolutely.
definitely more emotional.
There's no
yeah.
question about it. There's no question about it. The most emotional.
I'm not
people-
I have no comment on that
The
one.
most. The most. I grew up with a mother and a grandmother who were extremely emotional people.
Let me have a back and forth though on patriarchy here.
All right.
So you've asserted that the patriarchy exists to this day. I need you to give me a few reasons how or why.
Are you disagreeing that there's a patriarchy?
I do, but I'm
You
trying to-
disagree with that statement?
There's a
You
hundred.
have to define it.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay,
Define
Hannah.
A
You have to
society
define it.
built by men for men. I
Okay,
will
you've
say it
defined.
again and again.
No, hold on.
Okay, but
You've,
our
let-
society-
hold on. You've defined it. You've defined it. But you have not provided evidence
Well, I haven't
for
been
its
given
existence.
an opportunity to.
I'm opening it up to you, please.
Well, recently, I know you two are probably going to have an opinion about this. Roe v. Wade was overturned.
That
So-
actually created an equality between men and women.
How? Because men are the ones being punished. Like a man can. Okay, do you realize that?
Men have zero reproductive rights.
Okay, yeah, but men also
And
can
it pushed
impregnate
it
as
down to the
many women
states.
as they want.
Wait.
Whereas women can only get pregnant once in 9 months. Men can impregnate thousands of women in 9 months, and they're not the ones that are being punished, and they're not the ones that are stuck to being carried to term with the baby and
men
supporting
are.
a whole nother life.
If a man doesn't want a child, he can certainly be punished.
What do you mean by that?
Child support.
If a
Man,
man,
a man does not have a choice in either scenario. If a woman wants to keep it and he wants to get rid of it, he doesn't have a choice. If she wants, what is and the inverse is true too.
I think we should rewind for a second. You just used Roe v. Wade as an example of the patriarchy.
Yes.
I know
gosh.
more women that support the overturning of Roe v. Wade than I know men.
That's probably because of
That's
like,
also
the community
because of
you're
your
part of.
background.
You're right, it
Yeah.
is. But this isn't just a symbol of the patriarchy. This is the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This isn't just a male-dominated
Okay.
thing. Okay, Amy Coney Barrett also voted to overturn it. Okay,
That's a good point. That's a good
Those-
point.
that is
Those
she
are
is she
religious
the
women.
patriarchy?
Okay, but here's the thing: is that you cannot tell somebody what they have to do with their body. You can't tell me that I need to go have a kid right now if I get pregnant. Like you cannot tell me what to do with my body medically. I don't agree with that. I
Okay.
simply don't.
Okay, and I don't.
This
think
is going to get heated.
I don't think that a woman
very
has
heated.
the right to murder the child that she chose to create
don't-
through sex.
Okay,
But
maybe
what
we
if
shouldn't be
I'm
talking
afraid?
about this.
Like you cannot tell me.
So, can you give me some other? Can you give me some other examples
Other examples
of
I
how
think-
we live in a patriarchy
Oh
today?
gosh, what's the statistic? I don't know what the statistic is. Isn't there
Oh gosh, what's the statistics?
a statistic statistic about.
Well, I think what she's trying to say with
And
the
if any girls wanna
patriarchy,
come in.
I've taken a lot of like history classes and just sociology classes, that kind of thing. So I've actually learned a lot about it. Okay. Wasn't trying to show off there. I think that our society, since God knows how long ago, it has been a male-ran society.
She literally doesn't have an answer.
There's been so many instances. I mean, think about it. Like the whole stereotype of women stays at home, man like works, like blah blah blah. You know, men go to war, women stay and kind of take.
It's a stereotype. It wasn't just because there was war-torn saber-tooths and fucking mammoths all over the fucking world and trying to kill everybody. It was why we had to protect women and let them stay at home while we did all that stuff. No, it wasn't because of that at all.
Care of the kids. In my opinion, that's patriarchy, because that's kind of giving the men like this like higher role and like higher position.
Should we have just let cave women survive on their own and just let them do whatever and let them build their own society and die off? Or what the fuck what do women think happens in these societies when as like humans were growing and becoming civilized? Like, what the fuck?
Position in society. And I think that as society's progressing, it's becoming more progressive, and women are kind of, you know, the whole feminist movement, that kind of thing. But I think you can't deny that throughout history, women have been oppressed. You could also kind of go.
I would say, I don't think we should gender it, though. I think throughout history, men and women have been oppressed. It's really the apex fallacy. The patriarchy theory is the apex fallacy. You have a very, very small proportion of people at the very top which oppress everyone, both men and women. But
you don't think that there's... So are you, just to make your point...
I reject this idea of the patriarchy theory.
Do you support the idea of women have been oppressed in society?
I think both men and women have been oppressed. And I can actually, this is going to be the hot take here.
That was a hot take.
No, hold on. I can actually make an argument that men have been more oppressed.
Please make your argument right.
Look at them. Oh, what? No way.
Now, please. What? State your case, Brian.
Literally no clue what the fuck goes on.
Let me ask you a question.
Just hear him out.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm hearing you out right now.
So throughout all human history, and I think that, you know what, this one probably squashes any grievance that I think women could conceivably come up with. Throughout all human history, what percentage would you say of military casualties, if you had to break it up between the genders? What is the percentage breakdown of military casualties?
Well, obviously,
so deaths and injuries.
Obviously, a significantly more amount of men.
99.99999%.
But that's also because in the past, women have not been allowed to.
That's a privilege.
Fight in the military.
That is a privilege.
They weren't allowed.
Do you think if women had been allowed, hold on guys, do you think if women had been allowed to join the military, they would be signing up in droves to get put through the meat grinder of war?
Well, it's also men literally like want to be in it. Like so many men, one of my guy friends told me actually that like all men at some point in their lives like fantasize about being in the military.
You're right. Mm-hmm. A lot of men do. Mm-hmm. A lot of men are attracted to war. However, this hasn't been a consensual thing throughout human history. Throughout human history, you've had so many emperors and kings that literally just, they will send soldiers to your house. They say, all right, Tanner.
Even in Ukraine right now, going on.
Ukraine right now, people are getting forced to fight in this war. Men weren't allowed to leave the country in Ukraine. You realize this. Women were allowed to leave the country. Men were not allowed to leave the country in Ukraine because they were forced to go to the front lines, right into the meat grinder of war. They were forced to die. This is not something that's happened to women throughout human history.
But women haven't given the opportunity to. I mean, you can make the argument that.
How is this an opportunity? I don't get why women want to argue this fact that it's an opportunity to go die in war.
How many women would, right? Like, that's a good argument. But then you could also say women were not allowed to enlist.
All right, so World War III starts tomorrow. How many of you are enlisting?
Enlisting willingly?
Yep.
Probably wouldn't, but if they told me I had to go, I'd go. Suck it up.
You wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have a choice.
You have to
but
suck it up.
her point is that women haven't had the option, so that's why it was all
Well,
dudes.
it's also, I actually come from a military family, like my whole life. And sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. That's all right. My point was just simply that you guys are right. Almost all societies throughout history have been male dominated.
But a very small percentage.
It's by a very tiny percentage of men at the top who brutally oppress the majority of the men below them throughout society as well. And yes, women have gotten the raw end of the stick too, but like dudes have had it bad as well for a long time. And we've had more rights in terms of property and speech and stuff like that and voting, but it's been pretty bad for dudes for a long time too.
Those are big deals. Like those are legal issues that women didn't have rights to.
Well,
and now
being alive is more important than dying. Am I wrong?
we're taking away.
Women couldn't vote. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I was alive back then.
What do you think about that?
Wait, about what?
Do you think that women, if you lived back then, right, would you support women not voting? Do you think that that's right and just? Do you think that that's a decision for the men to make, that women are not competent enough to vote? Because that's what it was.
Well,
no.
So actually, Eric, can you pull up? There's a infographic. Okay. Eric, there's an infographic. On
yes, I know women can vote now. I'm talking about like however many years in history.
It's an important question.
Chris, go into the infographics.
Brian wants to move on to something else, but it's important.
No. It's related to the voting thing. So, I mean, what's your question? Should women not have been allowed to vote?
No,
she's asking if we think we should repeal the 19th. That's what she's asking.
No.
I'm kidding.
No. Wait. Okay. Go into podcast. Go into infographics.
He said no, they shouldn't repeal it, idiots.
You're going to see one voting. It's the first one. Pull that over. Okay. And then F11.
Did you say why did we bring up Ukraine?
Okay, go window mode for us. Bring back OBS so we can see. Sorry, guys, one sec. We're pulling up an infographic here on voting.
Is this an accurate infographic coming from an accurate source?
I'm not sure if it's been fact-checked by Bill Gates' fact-checkers. So.
Okay, so this is F11, Eric? Okay, so, yeah, there you go. So percentage of population aged 21 or over eligible to vote. This is in the UK. So, but I mean, okay. So this is like pretty, I'd say amongst Western countries, this is pretty much the case. So you'll notice before like the mid 1800s, it was pretty much a very small proportion of men had the vote. This concept of voting is an incredibly new concept. Before that, it was just tyrants. You had kings, queens. They're the ones who had power. A very, very small amount of people had power. Yes, there is a bit of a discrepancy there from about the 1800s to the early 1900s, but there is actually a reason for that. One of the reasons is because, and I think we've seen it. So if you want to just go ahead and bring it back, Eric. One of the reasons for you need to go F11 in this StreamYard window, Eric. Thank you. One of the discrepancies, or one of the reasons for that, is because men were the only ones that were subject to military conscription. So the way that men got the right to vote before women is we had to go in the fucking trenches and die. And we had to say we got the right to vote and elect a representative who would be potentially making the decision if we went to war. Women, even to this day in 2022, they're not required to, you have to register, as a man, you have to register with a selective service to this day. We are still subject in 2022 to the military draft. So that's the big thing. That's one of the reasons why we got the vote before y'all, because we had to fucking go and potentially die for our country. Women were able to secure the vote without the corresponding responsibilities and duties. So you actually got, when it comes to voting, you guys actually have an advantage over men. It was never about equality. Mm-hmm. You got preferential treatment in actuality. Because none of you are subject to the draft, even today.
But what if some women want to be subject?
There are men alive today.
Be subject to the draft?
There are men alive today that were subject to the draft. They went to the Vietnam War. They're alive today, so some of them came back. They have probably serious psychological issues. A lot of them are homeless. A lot of them just...
I actually knew a lot of Vietnam vets when we used to own a donut shop. All of the older vets that were retired came to the donut shop and played dominoes at my donut shop every day, and I got to know them. I called them all uncles. I had an Uncle John, and Uncle Peter, and all their first names. I just put uncle in front of them. That's just how Asians do things. So, and I actually got to experience all of this draft issues when I was young, because they explained it to me and how they really hated going to the war. I had one gentleman whose name is Frank. He was a plumber, owned his own plumbing company, made massive money, had a massive scar on his face all the way down to his neck. He said he got that from a Vietnamese guy freaking knifing him in the face, and he survived. He looked so badass, I gotta say, and he was probably one of the best role models I had growing up also. So
just didn't come back and they're dead. Now, there hasn't been a draft in a long time, but we're still subject to it. And the way the world's going, it's certainly plausible that we could see. I mean, we see what happened in Ukraine.
Do you think that there's a World War III brewing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know, but it's
no comment.
Even if war isn't likely, if we don't register with the selective service, we can potentially face criminal prosecution.
Correct.
Do you think that there's going to be a draft? Do you think that there's a possible draft that could be? I'm just asking out of pure curiosity.
It could happen. The military can't find enough able-bodied people right now.
Interesting.
Because it's still volunteer service right now, and they're struggling to hit their numbers.
My dad always says this, but I asked him this question the other day. I said, is it possible for there to be another draft? And he told me he doesn't think so, just because of like the new way of fighting is just kind of like it's very technology based. I mean, I might be wrong, but
Gen 5 warfare.
Right. And so wouldn't that require less troops, because there's
still going to be a draft. I mean,
you still need troops for a lot of stuff. Like if you're going in, you can do a lot of warfare using automated vehicles or robots or whatever it is. But if you're going into another country, like, you're going to need boots on the ground. And
now this is me not knowing anything. So
okay.
This is appreciative of the information.
Yeah, no. And I personally think World War III is brewing. There's a lot of stuff brewing in the world right now.
Are you scared?
No, I have faith in God.
Valid answer. Okay.
I mean, if you want to talk about systemic oppression, to this day, men are systemically oppressed by the selective service. I know you're smiling, but the fact of the matter is,
it's a really important point.
If there was a war, we would be drafted and you guys would be exempt. Yeah. And you are exempt from having to register with the selective service.
Can I have another example other than the draft?
No,
another
with systemic.
We're more likely to be victims of police killings and police shootings and police brutality. We're more likely to be incarcerated. We're more likely to delete ourselves. We're less likely to get sponsorships for college. We're less likely to go to college. More likely to be homeless. That's a few.
Okay, can I say something really quick?
Sure.
A lot of those things, like, I'm not saying they're not struggles, because they are. I'm just saying that, like, a lot of those struggles are because, like, people in power just take men more seriously. And I think that, like, women's problems...
More seriously, we are the disposable sex.
Yes.
Men are the disposable sex. Women are valued. Women go to war, get killed, be a workhorse.
Yep.
But they do that because
us.
they, like... It's no secret that men are just, like, physically more, like, capable than women.
Well, that's
There's
part
a reason
of it.
These lights are on.
That's part... Different discussion. That's part of it. That's part of it. But the other thing...
Don't get it?
You're looking at this... Hold on, guys. You're looking at this through the lens of oppression, okay? You're looking at this like, okay, men throughout history haven't taken women seriously enough to put them on the battlefield, right? Well, the other side of the coin is that women have been highly valued throughout history for their ability to bear children and everything else that you guys can do that men can't do. You guys are very highly valued for that. That's why today we're still the dudes that get tossed into the meat grinder and you guys are protected from the fray, okay? Childbearing women have been extremely valuable throughout almost all of human history, because without you guys, the race, the culture, the civilization, the tribe can't go on. We're expendable.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like people only value women because of their fertility. Like, they don't value their intellect. They don't value...
It's
like,
not that you're just valued for your fertility.
What do you value men for?
It's not that you're just valued for your fertility. That's an incredible thing to be valued for. Like, you guys have something that men don't.
Well, it would be nice to walk into a classroom and have like all the guys actually listen to me for once. Because personally, I don't know about you guys, but every time I've tried to say something in class,
everything's about control and power.
Male, mostly in like my science classes and stuff.
Especially STEM, very much STEM.
You get talked over. People don't look at you the same. They don't take you seriously. They don't. And as a man, you'll never understand that. People don't take us seriously.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's something that we can't
unfortunate.
necessarily like super understand.
But I can
this is
guarantee you a
also-
lot of women feel that same exact way.
But once you
That's something I can
graduate,
emphasize.
and you have a what are you studying?
Psych and brain science.
Psych and brain science. I mean, there's actually affirmative action for women in STEM programs in the education system, and also for hiring. If you're a computer scientist, software engineer, and you're a woman, you're getting a job.
I think that's great, but
That's a huge advantage for
But
women.
it's still not the attitude that is given to women. Even though they do, like, I do agree, affirmative action does help and whatever that, it's still the attitudes. Like, that's what I said when I said there's still undertones of it in our society. I still feel like women are disrespected by men and looked down upon from my personal experience and from what I've witnessed.
People look down upon all sorts of people. It's not just women that are looked down upon. Like low value
But
dudes.
it's a widespread
For
issue.
Low value, yeah, you're right. But low value dudes, for example, I bet there's a million dudes that you guys have met and they felt like you guys never gave them the time of day, and they'd probably have a complaint about that. You know, like it's just part of life. You know.
For instance, think about like a plumber, right? Like what I was saying about the lights, and like didn't get that. Like, think the last like woman who is an electrician that you guys met, who is a plumber, who keeps society rolling in a lot of the just like municipal stuff that we have going on like within our society. It's all men that are making like $60,000 a year. They're working like these blue collar jobs, wading through shit,
Just the
climbing up
hardest,
telephone poles,
shittiest jobs
the worst
ever.
stuff. You like, it's not that bad here. Like, you know, for instance, there was like a huge windstorm here a couple months ago, and there was like linemen right outside my, you know, like door working on power lines and whatnot. I guess that's not too bad, but you think about like, hey, if it's negative 40 out and there's a dude in Montana and like the heat goes out, there's a dude getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and below 40 negative, below zero, who's climbing up that pole, who's like getting power back on so that people have heat and whatnot. And that's pretty shitty. And he's also doing that for like $50,000, $60,000 a year.
And
I'm sure that's not fun.
I don't know. I literally do not know a single woman that wants a job like that, and that stuff is just left to the men. And it's kind of a raw deal, you know. Why don't chicks want those jobs? You know?
I want to add a little bit to this. I don't think we're trying to say that men don't have struggles, but I think the problem is that women also have struggles, and those struggles need to be taken as seriously as men's struggles.
Well,
and like,
yeah, of course.
Not
Both
like
men
in
and women.
society, it just sucks that like.
Well, actually,
as women, our struggles aren't taken as seriously, and
Well,
a lot has changed, but like it's still not completely equal.
Actually, I think women's struggles are taken far more seriously than men's struggles. There's almost no discussion about the struggles that men face.
What do you guys think about feminism, like in your guys' opinion?
What is feminism? Why don't you tell us what you think that is?
It's a great counter.
I would say a feminist would be the kind of new generational woman, the kind of feminist movement that you're seeing now, because there's been a lot of feminist movements in history. I would say the new feminist movement now, I mean, obviously there's extremities of it, but, you know, women that are pro-life, for example, women that think that, you know, whatever wage gap is going on.
How's that, Chow? Yeah, women really want to play the victim game and the whoever's the most oppressed game. And they really don't realize that most men have been oppressed all of their lives and continue to be oppressed. Yes, just because women get treated a little bit differently by men, but men treat other men just as roughly or even more rough than they treat women. This is the part that women don't realize. They keep on genderizing the two things. It's just people. People of a certain caliber treat people of below that caliber a certain way. Men or women. Right? So it is what it is. Please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.